First contact and underestimation. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, where countless civilizations had risen and fallen, the Galactic Confederacy reigned supreme. For millennia, they had conquered and assimilated hundreds of species, their technological prowess unmatched across known space. Their latest target, a small blue planet on the outer rim of the galaxy, teeming with life and rich in resources. Earth. Admiral Zixnara, commander of the Confederacy's 7th Fleet, stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Inevitability. Her 8 eyes blinked in rapid succession as she studied the holographic display of the Sol system. "What do we know of these humans?" she asked, her voice a melodious hum that resonated through the ship's neural interface. Captain Krell, her second-in-command, stepped forward. His exoskeleton clicked softly against the metallic floor. "Primitive, Admiral. They've barely left their own planet. Our long-range scans show rudimentary space stations and a handful of colonies on their neighboring worlds. Their technology is quaint." Zixnara's mandibles twitched in amusement. "Quaint? Do elaborate, Captain." Krell projected a series of images onto the main view screen. They still rely heavily on combustion engines for space travel. Their weapons are primarily kinetic and chemical-based. They have no energy shields, no faster-than-light capabilities, and their AI systems are in their infancy. The bridge crew chittered and buzzed with laughter. The idea that such a species could pose any threat to the mighty Confederacy was absurd. Admiral Zixnara raised her appendage, silencing the crew. And yet, they survived this long. There must be something intriguing about them. "There is one peculiarity, Admiral," Krell admitted. "They share their planet with a diverse array of other species. Some they've domesticated for companionship and labor." The view screen shifted to show images of humans interacting with various animals. Dogs, cats, horses, and other creatures appeared, engaged in activities ranging from work to play. "Fascinating," Zixnara mused. "They form symbiotic relationships with lesser species. Perhaps there's more to these humans than meets the eye." "Shall we proceed with standard first contact protocols, Admiral?" Krell asked. Zixnara considered for a moment. "No, let's observe them a while longer. I want to understand what makes these humans tick before we reveal ourselves." For the next solar cycle, the Confederacy's stealth ships monitored Earth and its colonies. They watched as humans went about their daily lives, marveling at their resilience in the face of natural disasters, their capacity for both cruelty and kindness, and their insatiable curiosity about the universe around them. But it was the bond between humans and their animal companions that fascinated the alien observers the most. They watched as dogs guided the blind, as therapy animals comforted the sick, as search and rescue teams braved dangerous conditions to save lives. "I've never seen anything like it," Krell admitted, reviewing the latest data. "These creatures, dogs in particular, seem to have an almost telepathic bond with their human partners." Zixnara nodded, her compound eyes gleaming with interest. "Indeed, it's as if they've evolved together, each species complementing the other's strengths and weaknesses." As the observation period drew to a close, the Confederacy's High Council demanded action. The resources of Earth were too valuable to ignore, and the potential threat of an emerging spacefaring civilization, however primitive, could not be tolerated. The order came down: prepare for invasion. Admiral Zixnara, despite her misgivings, began to formulate a strategy. The humans' technology was no match for the Confederacy's advanced weaponry and shields. Their militaries, while numerous, were fragmented along national lines. Victory seemed assured. And yet, a niggling doubt persisted in the back of her mind. These humans had shown remarkable adaptability and ingenuity. Their bond with other species, particularly their canine companions, hinted at a capacity for cooperation that the Confederacy had rarely encountered. As the invasion fleet assembled, Zixnara called her senior staff together for a final briefing. "We must not underestimate these humans," she cautioned. "While their technology is primitive, their spirit is formidable. We've seen them overcome great obstacles through sheer determination and creativity. Captain Krell scoffed. Admiral, with all due respect, they're centuries behind us. Their weapons can't even scratch our hulls. What possible threat could they pose? Zixnara's mandibles clicked in irritation. That kind of arrogance has been the downfall of many great empires, Captain. We will proceed with caution. The invasion plan was set. A small force would make planetfall near one of Earth's major cities, a place called New York. They would quickly overwhelm the local defenses, establishing a beachhead for the main invasion force. From there, they would systematically conquer the planet, strip it of resources, and either subjugate or eliminate the human population. As the first wave of dropships entered Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Zixnara watched from the bridge of the inevitability. The planet's primitive defense systems posed no threat to the advanced alien craft. Missiles were casually swatted aside by energy shields. Fighter jets were outmaneuvered with ease. "See, Admiral," Krell said, his tone smug. "They're helpless against us. This will be over before the next solar cycle." Zixnara said nothing, her eyes fixed on the viewscreen. Something didn't feel right. The humans' resistance seemed half-hearted, as if they were holding something back. The first Confederacy troops landed in Central Park, a large green space in the heart of New York City. They expected panic, chaos, a disorganized response from the local authorities. Instead, they found the park eerily empty. "Report," Zixnara demanded. The ground commander's voice crackled over the comm. "No sign of the natives, Admiral. It's as if they knew we were coming. Wait, we're picking up some strange readings. Biological signatures closing in fast from all directions." Suddenly, the view screen erupted in chaos. From the trees, from behind buildings, from underground tunnels, humans emerged, accompanied by their faithful canine companions. But these were no ordinary dogs. The aliens watched in shock as genetically enhanced canines, some as large as small vehicles, others with gleaming cybernetic implants, charged into battle alongside their human partners. The dogs' enhanced senses allowed them to detect cloaked enemy units. Their powerful jaws and reinforced skeletons made them formidable in close combat. "Impossible," Krell exclaimed. "Their technology couldn't possibly." "It seems," Zixnara interrupted, her voice tight, "that we have gravely underestimated the humans' capacity for adaptation, and their ability to turn their greatest companions into their greatest weapons." As the battle raged on the surface, the Admiral realized that this invasion was going to be anything but easy. The humans, with their canine allies, were putting up a fight that no one in the Confederacy had anticipated. The Galactic Confederacy had indeed stopped laughing. The real war for Earth was about to begin. The invasion begins. The initial shock of the humans' unexpected resistance quickly gave way to a brutal, citywide conflict. New York, once a bustling metropolis, had transformed into a war zone. Skyscrapers became fortresses, subway tunnels turned into ambush points, and every park and alley concealed potential danger for the invading forces. Admiral Zixnara watched the chaos unfold from her command center aboard the Inevitability. The holographic display showed a sea of red indicators, her troops being slowly but steadily pushed back by the blue markers representing the human-canine teams. "This is unprecedented," Captain Krell muttered, his exoskeleton quivering with a mixture of fear and excitement. "How could we have missed this level of advancement in their biological engineering?" Zixnara's mandibles clicked in irritation. "We became complacent, Krell. We saw what we expected to see, a primitive species, easy to conquer. We forgot the most important rule of warfare: never underestimate your enemy." On the ground, Confederacy troops found themselves in a fight unlike any they had experienced before. Their energy weapons, while devastating against traditional military hardware, proved less effective against the genetically enhanced dogs. The canines' reinforced skeletal structures and advanced healing capabilities allowed them to shrug off hits that would have vaporized unmodified organisms. Squad leader Vexator crouched behind the wreckage of a human vehicle, plasma rifle clutched tightly in his upper appendages. His unit had been tasked with securing a strategic position, a tall building the humans called the Empire State Building, but they'd been pinned down for hours. "Command, we need air support," he shouted into his comms. "These Earth creatures are everywhere." As if on cue, a massive shape burst through a nearby window. Vextor found himself face to face with a beast out of nightmare, a dog the size of a small transport, its eyes glowing with cybernetic implants, razor-sharp teeth bared in a growl that shook him to his core. Before he could react, a smaller, more agile canine unit flanked his position. In perfect coordination with its larger counterpart, it attacked, its jaws clamping down on Vextor's weapon arm with impossible strength. The squad leader's scream was cut short as the larger dog pounced, and the comm line went dead. Back on the inevitability, Admiral Zixnara made a difficult decision. "Initiate orbital bombardment," she ordered, her voice heavy. "Target their military installations and power grids. We need to regain the upper hand." Captain Krell looked alarmed. "But Admiral, our ground forces." "We'll have to make do," Zixnara cut him off. "We underestimated them once. I will not make that mistake again." As the first energy beams lanced down from the sky, searing the Earth below, humanity's response was swift and unexpected. Hidden silos across the planet opened, launching a barrage of missiles. But these were not the primitive nuclear weapons the Confederacy had detected earlier. Instead, they were something entirely new. "Incoming," shouted the sensor operator. "Unidentified projectiles approaching at sub-light speeds." Zixnara watched in disbelief as the missiles effortlessly pierced their supposedly impenetrable energy shields. Explosions rocked the invasion fleet. Secondary detonations chain-reacted through several ships, reducing them to expanding clouds of debris. "How?" Krell gasped. "Their tech level couldn't possibly." "It seems," Zixnara interrupted, "that our presence forced them to reveal capabilities they had kept hidden. The question is, how much more are they concealing?" As the space battle raged, the conflict on the ground intensified. In cities across the globe, scenes similar to New York played out. Human soldiers, working in seamless coordination with their canine partners, engaged in guerrilla warfare that kept the technologically superior invaders off balance. In London, cybernetically enhanced Corgi units used their small size and enhanced speed to sabotage alien equipment. Their low profile allowed them to slip past sensor grids, delivering explosive payloads that crippled Confederacy walkers and gunships. In Moscow, massive, bear-like Caucasian shepherd dogs, their already impressive strength and resilience, further augmented by human bioengineering, engaged in close-quarters combat. Their thick fur, now interwoven with advanced fibers, deflected energy weapons, while their powerful jaws could crush alien alloys like paper. The deserts of the Middle East saw packs of Salukis, their natural speed and endurance pushed to superhuman levels, running circles around Confederacy patrols. They served as lightning-fast couriers and scouts, their enhanced senses able to detect cloaked enemy units from miles away. In the dense jungles of South America, enhanced Rottweilers and German Shepherds used their intelligence and adaptability to set complex traps, herding alien units into kill zones where hidden human snipers could pick them off. As reports flooded in from across the globe, Admiral Zixnara began to realize the true scale of their miscalculation. Humanity had not just prepared for this day, they had restructured their entire military doctrine around it. "Admiral," Captain Krell reported, his voice shaky, "we're detecting unusual activity in Earth's oceans." Before Zixnara could respond, the seas began to churn. Massive shapes broke the surface, submarines larger than anything the Confederacy had believed the humans capable of building. But it wasn't their size that caused gasps of disbelief among the alien crew. It was their escorts. Alongside each submarine swam packs of enormous, cybernetically enhanced dolphins and orcas. Their natural sonar abilities, combined with advanced technology, made them perfect submarine hunters. They moved with impossible speed and agility, engaging Confederacy ships that had ventured too close to shorelines. In the skies, things were no less chaotic. Squadrons of human fighters, thought to be hopelessly outclassed, were proving surprisingly effective. It took Zixnara a moment to realize why. Each fighter was paired with a smaller craft, piloted by an enhanced canine. These dog-piloted units served as dedicated electronic warfare platforms, their enhanced brains interfacing directly with complex jamming systems. They created bubbles of electromagnetic interference that played havoc with Confederacy targeting systems, allowing their human partners to close in for the kill. This is impossible, Krill stammered. No species we've ever encountered has integrated another form of life into their military so completely. Zixnara's mind raced, reassessing everything they thought they knew about humanity. No, Krill, not impossible. We simply failed to consider the possibility. These humans, they didn't just domesticate other species. They elevated them, made them partners in every sense of the word. As the battle entered its second day, it became clear that the easy victory the Confederacy had expected was nothing but a fantasy. Human resistance was growing stronger, not weaker, as more of their hidden capabilities came to light. In orbit, the remnants of the Confederacy fleet regrouped, licking their wounds. Nearly a third of their ships had been destroyed or disabled by the humans' surprise attack. The casualties on the ground were even worse. Over half of the initial invasion force had been killed or captured. Admiral Zixnara stood before the holographic display, her posture rigid, all 8 eyes focused on the swirling patterns of combat across Earth's surface. She had underestimated these humans, had allowed her preconceptions to blind her to the truth. Now she faced the very real possibility of defeat, something the Confederacy hadn't experienced in living memory. "Your orders, Admiral," Captain Krell asked, his voice subdued. Zixnara was silent for a long moment. The easy path would be to retreat, to cut their losses and return to Confederacy space with warnings about this unexpectedly formidable species. But retreat meant failure, and failure was not an option. "We adapt," she said finally, her voice filled with grim determination. "If the humans can uplift their companion species to this degree, then we must do the same. Send word to the homeworld. We need reinforcements, and we need our own bioengineering division to begin work immediately." "On what, Admiral?" Zixnara's mandibles clicked in a predatory grin. "On our own enhanced battle forms, of course. If the humans want to fight with teeth and claws alongside their technology, then we'll show them what real apex predators can do." As the orders went out, Zixnara turned her gaze back to the blue-green planet below. The invasion of Earth had only just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity's unexpected advantage. As the conflict entered its second week, the initial shock of the invasion gave way to a grim determination on both sides. The Confederacy's reinforcements began to arrive, bringing with them the fruits of their hasty bioengineering efforts. New monstrosities joined the ranks of the alien invaders, massive, chitinous creatures that seemed to be unholy fusions of insectoid and reptilian DNA, their exoskeletons bristling with organic weapon growths. Admiral Zixnara watched from the bridge of the inevitability as the first wave of these new shock troops made planetfall. "Let's see how the humans and their furry friends handled this," she muttered, her mandibles clicking in anticipation. On the ground, the new Confederacy units tore through the human defenses with terrifying efficiency. In the ruins of Chicago, a pack of the creatures, dubbed Ravagers by terrified human soldiers, smashed through a barricade, shrugging off small arms fire as if it were nothing more than a light rain. Sergeant Sarah Chen, leader of a mixed human-canine squad, watched in horror as the Ravagers advanced. "Fall back," she shouted, her voice barely audible over the sound of gunfire and alien shrieks. "Regroup at checkpoint Delta." As her team retreated, Chen's canine partner, a heavily augmented German shepherd named Max, let out a low growl. His cybernetic eyes glowed as he processed data from his advanced sensory suite. "What is it, boy?" Chen asked, her hand instinctively moving to the neural link interface at the base of her skull. In an instant, Max's sensory data flooded her mind. Ken's eyes widened. "Holy shit," she breathed. "Command, this is Wolfpack Actual. The new Bodhis. They're not as tough as they look. Sending data now." Back at the human command center, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Marcus Rivera received Chen's transmission. As the data flowed across his screens, a slow smile spread across his face. "Well, I'll be damned," he chuckled. "Looks like our alien friends got a little too eager with their genetic tinkering." The Ravagers, for all their ferocious appearance and raw strength, had a critical weakness. In their haste to create an unstoppable warrior species, the Confederacy's scientists had cut corners. The creatures' massive size and enhanced capabilities came at a cost. Their metabolism was wildly unstable, requiring constant energy intake to maintain their combat effectiveness. "Get this info to all frontline units," Rivera ordered. "And someone get me Dr. Yamamoto from Canine Course R and D. I think it's time we unveiled Project Cerberus." As the data spread, human canine teams across the globe began to adapt their tactics. Instead of facing the Ravagers head-on, they engaged in hit-and-run attacks, wearing the creatures down and exploiting their need for frequent refueling. In the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, a squad of timber wolf hybrids, their already impressive endurance pushed to superhuman levels, ran circles around a Ravager unit. They led the aliens on an exhausting chase, always staying just out of reach, until the massive creatures began to slow, their energy reserves depleting. That's when the human soldiers struck, their weapons now calibrated to target the Ravagers' specific vulnerabilities. The alien monstrosities, so terrifying just hours before, fell like dominoes. Similar scenes played out across the planet. In the Australian outback, dingo hybrid units used the harsh terrain to their advantage, leading Ravagers on grueling marches across the scorching desert. In the frozen wastes of Siberia, enhanced Malamute teams wore down their foes in the bitter cold, their fur-lined armor allowing them to operate long after the Ravagers began to falter. Admiral Zixnara watched in disbelief as reports of Ravager defeats poured in from all corners of the globe. "Impossible," she hissed. "How could they adapt so quickly?" Captain Krell, his exoskeleton clicking nervously, offered a tentative response. "It appears, Admiral, that we've underestimated the humans yet again. Their bond with their canine allies goes beyond mere military cooperation. They seem to share information at a fundamental level." Zixnara's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Our analysis suggests that the neural links between humans and their enhanced animals allow for instantaneous sharing of sensory data and tactical insights. When one human canine team discovers a weakness, that knowledge spreads across their entire network almost immediately." The Admiral's mandibles clicked in frustration. This war was proving to be unlike anything the Confederacy had faced before. Every time they thought they had the upper hand, the humans and their loyal companions found a way to turn the tables. But the humans weren't content to simply defend. Even as they repelled the Ravager assault, they were preparing a counteroffensive that would shake the Confederacy to its core. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a top-secret facility known only as the Kennel, Dr. Eiko Yamamoto stood before a massive stasis tank. Inside, suspended in a nutrient-rich fluid, floated what appeared to be a dog, but one unlike any that had existed before. General Rivera stepped up beside her, his eyes fixed on the creature in the tank. "Is it ready?" he asked. Yamamoto nodded, her expression a mixture of pride and apprehension. "Project Cerberus is as ready as it'll ever be. But sir, are you sure about this? The ethical implications alone." "Doctor," Rivera interrupted, his voice gentle but firm, "I understand your concerns. But we're fighting for the survival of our species, of all Earth's species. Sometimes, that requires us to push boundaries we never thought we'd cross. With a heavy sigh, Yamamoto nodded and began the awakening sequence. As the fluid drained from the tank, the creature inside began to stir. Its eyes opened, all 6 of them, revealing an intelligence that was both canine and something more. Project Cerberus was the culmination of everything humanity had learned about bioengineering and human-canine neural links. It wasn't just an enhanced dog, it was a true chimera, combining the DNA of multiple canine species with cutting-edge cybernetics and a touch of something that the scientists involved would only refer to in whispers as xenotech. As the creature stepped out of the tank, shaking off the last drops of nutrient fluid, Rivera couldn't help but feel a mixture of awe and trepidation. Standing nearly 10 feet tall at the shoulder, with 3 heads that moved with eerie independence, Cerberus was a sight to behold. Its midnight black fur seemed to absorb light, and ribbons of bioluminescent blue pulsed along its flanks, hinting at the incredible power contained within its engineered frame. "Hello, old friend," Rivera said softly, reaching out to touch the central head. The neural link activated instantly, and the general gasped as his mind was flooded with sensory input and emotions that were at once familiar and utterly alien. Cerberus was more than just a weapon. It was a force multiplier, designed to coordinate entire battalions of human-canine teams across vast distances. Its 3 brains worked in perfect harmony, processing tactical data at speeds that put supercomputers to shame. As Rivera regained his composure, he turned to Yamamoto. "Begin mass production immediately. I want a Cerberus unit deployed to every major theater of war within the week." The scientist's eyes widened. "Sir, that's impossible. The resources required, the training time." Rivera held up a hand, silencing her protests. "Doctor, what you see before you isn't just one Cerberus. It's the template for an entire army. Its neural network is designed to be copied and distributed. Every Cerberus unit will be born with the knowledge and experience of this prime specimen." As the implications sank in, Yamamoto's scientific curiosity began to overcome her ethical reservations. This was a breakthrough that would redefine the boundaries of bioengineering and artificial intelligence. If they survived this war, the applications for this technology in peacetime could be world-changing. Within days, Cerberus units began appearing on battlefields across the globe. Their impact was immediate and devastating. In New Delhi, a single Cerberus coordinated a counter-offensive that drove the Confederacy forces out of the city in less than 24 hours. In Rio de Janeiro, another Cerberus led a daring amphibious assault, using its ability to process vast amounts of sensory data to navigate the chaotic urban warfare with unprecedented precision. But it was in low Earth orbit that Cerberus truly proved its worth. A specially modified unit, its body adapted for the vacuum of space, was deployed to the International Space Station. From this vantage point, linked to a vast network of satellites and ground-based sensors, Cerberus became the ultimate battlefield coordinator. Admiral Zixnara watched in growing horror as her carefully laid plans crumbled in the face of this new threat. The humans and their canine allies, once on the defensive, were now pushing the Confederacy forces back on all fronts. "How?" she demanded, her voice filled with a mixture of rage and disbelief. "How can they be defeating our most advanced bioforms?" Captain Krell, his exoskeleton now bearing the scars of recent combat, could only shake his head. "It's not just the strength of these new units, Admiral. It's their coordination. Every human and canine on the planet seems to be acting with a single unified purpose. It's as if they're all part of one vast, interconnected mind." As the reality of their situation sank in, Zixnara made a decision that would alter the course of the war and potentially the future of the galaxy. "Prepare my shuttle," she ordered, her voice cold with determination. "I'm going to the surface." Krell's antennae twitched in shock. "Admiral, you can't be serious. The risk." "The risk," Zixnara interrupted, "is necessary. If we're to have any hope of victory, I need to see these creatures for myself. I need to understand what we're truly fighting. As her shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, cloaked to avoid detection, Admiral Zixnara steeled herself for what was to come. She had underestimated humanity once. She would not make that mistake again. The war for Earth was entering a new phase, and the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. Turning the tide. Admiral Zixnara's cloaked shuttle touched down in the outskirts of what had once been Seattle. The city, like so many others across the planet, bore the scars of intense combat. Skyscrapers stood as hollow shells, their windows shattered and walls pockmarked with weapons fire. The streets were eerily quiet, the silence broken only by the distant sounds of ongoing battles. As Zixnara emerged from her craft, her sensory organs drinking in the unfamiliar sights and smells of Earth, she felt a twinge of something she hadn't experienced in centuries: fear. This world, which they had so casually marked for conquest, had proven to be far more dangerous than anyone in the Confederacy could have imagined. She had come alone, against the vehement protests of her staff, but Zixnara knew that to truly understand her enemy, she needed to see them up close, without the distortion of reports and tactical displays. As she made her way through the ruined city, her active camouflage rendering her nearly invisible, Zixnara's keen senses picked up signs of movement. She froze, her 8 eyes scanning the area. There, in the shadows of a collapsed building, she saw them, a human canine team on patrol. The human, a female judging by the body structure, moved with a fluid grace that spoke of extensive training and augmentation. Beside her trotted a large canine, its fur a mottled pattern that seemed to shift and change, blending with the surrounding debris. Both wore sleek, form-fitting armor that Zixnara's sensors indicated was far more advanced than anything they had previously encountered. But it was the way they moved that truly captivated the Admiral. Human and dog acted as one, their movements perfectly synchronized. As she watched, the pair suddenly tensed, and Zixnara realized with a jolt that they had somehow detected her presence. Before she could react, a voice rang out, clear and commanding. "We know you're there. Show yourself." For a moment, Zixnara considered fleeing, but she had come too far to turn back now. Slowly, she deactivated her camouflage, revealing herself to the human canine team. The reaction was instantaneous. The dog's fur bristled, a low growl emanating from its throat. The human's weapon snapped up, trained unerringly on Zixnara's central mass. "I am Admiral Zixnara of the Galactic Confederacy," she announced, her translator converting her complex vocalizations into human speech. "I have come to parley." The human's eyes narrowed, but her weapon didn't waver. "Sergeant Maria Alvarez, Earth Defense Force. You've got a lot of nerve coming here alone, Admiral." Zixnara's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among her species. Sometimes, Sergeant, to understand one's enemy, one must take risks. A tense moment passed. Then, to Zixnara's surprise, the human lowered her weapon slightly. "Rex," she said to her canine companion, alert command. "Let them know we have a unique situation." The dog's eyes flashed, and Zixnara realized it was transmitting data through some sort of neural interface. The level of integration between human and animal was far beyond anything the Confederacy had imagined possible. "Why are you really here, Admiral?" Alvarez asked, her tone wary but curious. Zixnara considered her words carefully. "Your species has surprised us. I came to see for myself what makes humans and their canine allies so formidable." Alvarez lit cold in a humorless smile. "And what have you learned so far?" "That we gravely underestimated you," Zixnara admitted. "Your bond with these animals, your ability to adapt and innovate, it's unlike anything we've encountered in our long history of conquest." The surgeon's eyes hardened at the word conquest, but before she could respond, a new presence made itself known. The ground trembled slightly, and from around a corner emerged one of the Cerberus units. Zixnara couldn't suppress a gasp. Seeing the creature on a view screen hadn't prepared her for the reality of its presence. It was magnificent and terrifying in equal measure, its three heads swiveling independently to assess the situation. "Admiral," a voice boomed, seeming to come from all three of the Cerberus heads at once. "I am General Marcus Rivera, speaking through this Cerberus unit. Your presence here is unexpected." Zixnara straightened, facing this new challenge. "General, I come seeking understanding. Perhaps even a path to end this conflict." Rivera was silent for a moment, the Cerberus' 6 eyes studying Zixnara intently. "A noble goal, Admiral, but forgive us if we're skeptical of your intentions, given the devastation your forces have wrought upon our world." "I understand your skepticism, General," Zixnara replied. "But surely you must see that this war benefits neither of our species. The longer it continues, the more both sides will lose." As they spoke, more human canine teams emerged from the ruins surrounding Zixnara. She noticed the diversity of the canines. Each seemed specially adapted for different roles, from heavily armored behemoths to sleek, agile types that moved with preternatural speed. Rivera's voice, still emanating from the Cerberus unit, took on a contemplative tone. "You're right about one thing, Admiral. This war has already cost us dearly. But tell me, what assurance can you offer that the Confederacy won't simply regroup and return with an even larger force if we agree to a ceasefire?" Zixnara's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation among her species. I cannot offer such assurance, General, but I can tell you this. What I've seen here, what your species has accomplished, has shaken the very foundations of our understanding of galactic civilization." She gestured to the assembled human canine teams and the imposing Cerberus unit. This symbiosis, this melding of two species into a fighting force greater than the sum of its parts, it's unprecedented. The Confederacy has conquered countless worlds, subjugated innumerable species, but never have we encountered anything like this. As she spoke, Zixnara noticed a change in the atmosphere. The hostility in the eyes of the human soldiers seemed to soften slightly, replaced by a cautious curiosity. "Go on," Rivera prompted. "What I propose is this," Zixnara continued, her mind racing. "A cultural exchange. Allow a delegation from the Confederacy to study your civilization, to understand this bond you forged with your canine allies. In return, we will share our advanced technology, our knowledge of the galaxy." The Cerberus unit's heads conferred silently for a moment, a sight that Zixnara found both fascinating and unsettling. Finally, Rivera spoke again. "An intriguing proposal, Admiral, but why should we trust you? How do we know this isn't some ploy to gather intelligence for a future invasion?" Zixnara's response was immediate and heartfelt. "Because, General, I have seen the future of warfare on this planet, and it terrifies me. If this conflict continues, if it escalates further, I fear it may spread beyond Earth, beyond even our ability to control. The galaxy as we know it could be consumed in a war unlike any in recorded history." Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. The assembled humans and their canine partners seemed to sense the weight of the moment, the potential for a shift in the course of the war. Sergeant Alvarez, who had been silent throughout the exchange, suddenly spoke up. "General, if I may." At Rivera's nod, she continued, addressing Zixnara directly. "Admiral, you say you want to understand us. Then understand this. We fight not just for ourselves, but for all life on Earth. Our bond with dogs, with all animals, is not just a military tactic. It's a fundamental part of who we are as a species." As if to emphasize her point, Rex, her canine partner, pressed close to her side. Alvarez absently stroked his head, the gesture so natural it seemed almost unconscious. "If there's to be peace between us," Alvarez continued, "it must be built on mutual respect, not just for humans, but for all Earth's creatures." Zixnara found herself nodding, a very human gesture she had picked up during her studies of Earth cultures. "Your words are wise, Sergeant, and they offer a glimpse of why your species has proven so resilient." She turned back to the Cerberus unit, addressing General Rivera. "What say you, General? Shall we take this first, tentative step towards peace?" The silence that followed seemed to stretch for an eternity. Zixnara could feel the weight of history pressing down upon them all. This moment, she realized, could well determine the fate of two civilizations, and perhaps the entire galaxy. Finally, the Cerberus unit spoke, its three voices blending into one. "Admiral Zixnara, on behalf of the people of Earth and all its inhabitants, we accept your proposal for a cultural exchange. But know this: any betrayal, any hint of deception, and we will not hesitate to unleash the full might of our combined forces upon the Confederacy." Zixnara bowed her head in acknowledgement. "I understand, General, and I give you my word, for whatever that may be worth to you, that my intentions are genuine." As the tension in the air began to dissipate, Zixnara felt a profound sense of relief and an unexpected surge of excitement. She had come to Earth seeking to understand her enemy. Instead, she may have just taken the first step towards a partnership that could reshape the galaxy. The war was not over. The path to true peace would be long and fraught with challenges. But as Zixnara looked around at the assembled humans and their loyal canine companions, she felt, for the first time since the invasion began, a glimmer of hope for the future. The tide of war had turned, not through overwhelming force or superior technology, but through understanding and the willingness to see beyond preconceptions. As the first tentative steps towards peace were taken in the ruins of Seattle, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what this unexpected alliance might bring. The final stand. The weeks following Admiral Zixnara's unprecedented meeting with Earth's leadership were filled with tense negotiations and cautious optimism. However, not everyone in the Galactic Confederacy shared the Admiral's newfound respect for humanity and their canine allies. High Commander Vexler, Zixnara's superior and one of the most hawkish members of the Confederacy's ruling council, viewed her actions as nothing short of treason. In his eyes, the only acceptable outcome was the complete subjugation of Earth and the acquisition of its resources, including the remarkable human-canine symbiosis that had proven so effective in combat. As Zixnara worked tirelessly to broker a lasting peace, Vexler secretly marshaled the Confederacy's reserves, preparing for one final devastating assault on Earth. His plan was simple: overwhelm the planet's defenses with sheer numbers, neutralize the Cerberus units that had turned the tide of war, and force an unconditional surrender. On a crisp autumn morning, as the first rays of sunlight painted the sky over what remained of New York City, the attack began. General Marcus Rivera stood in the command center of the Earth Defense Forces headquarters, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of holographic displays. Alarms blared as reports flooded in from all corners of the globe. "Sir," a young lieutenant called out, her voice tight with tension, "we're detecting massive energy signatures in low Earth orbit. It's the largest Confederacy fleet we've ever seen." Rivera's jaw clenched. They had known this was a possibility, had prepared for it, but the reality of facing such overwhelming force was still daunting. He turned to the Cerberus unit standing silently in the corner of the room, its three heads swiveling to take in all the information at once. "Status report," he barked. The Cerberus's voice, a harmonious blend of its three distinct minds, filled the command center. "Enemy forces are deploying in a standard invasion pattern, but on a scale we haven't encountered before. They're targeting our major population centers and military installations simultaneously." Rivera nodded grimly. "And our defenses. All Cerberus units are online and coordinating our forces globally. Human canine teams are mobilizing, but we're outnumbered at least 5-1. For a moment, the weight of responsibility seemed to press down on Rivera's shoulders. Then, straightening, he addressed the room. "This is it, people. The moment we've been preparing for. We may be outnumbered, but we have something they don't. A bond that transcends species. A unity of purpose that has already turned back one invasion. Let's show them what humanity and its allies are truly capable of." As Rivera's words echoed through the global command network, a fierce determination swept through the ranks of Earth's defenders. From the frozen tundra of Siberia to the scorching deserts of Australia, human canine teams moved into position, ready to face whatever horrors the Confederacy might unleash. In orbit, Admiral Zixnara watched in horror as Vexilor's armada descended upon the planet she had come to respect. Her own ship, the Inevitability, hung back from the main fleet, its weapons powered down in accordance with the ceasefire agreement. "This is madness," she hissed, her mandibles clicking in agitation. "Captain Krell, open a channel to High Commander Vexilor. I must try to stop this." But her pleas fell on deaf ears. Vexilor, drunk on the prospect of victory and the vast resources Earth would provide, was beyond reason. As Zixnara watched helplessly, the first wave of dropships breached Earth's atmosphere, carrying with them a nightmarish new weapon, a biological terror that the Confederacy's scientists had engineered in secret. On the ground, the battle raged with an intensity that dwarfed all previous engagements. In the ruins of Paris, a pack of enhanced wolfhounds, led by a grizzled veteran named Jacques Lefebvre, held the line against a swarm of ravagers, their enhanced strength and coordination allowing them to match the alien monstrosities blow for blow. In the dense jungles of the Amazon, a team of human jaguar hybrids, a recent and controversial addition to Earth's forces, used their unparalleled stealth and agility to ambush Confederacy patrols, striking from the shadows and disappearing before the aliens could mount an effective counterattack. But it was in the skies over New York that the true scale of the battle became apparent. A Cerberus unit, specially modified for aerial combat, soared through the chaos, its 3 heads working in perfect harmony to coordinate the defense of the city. Enhanced eagles and falcons, their wings gleaming with cybernetic implants, engaged in dogfights with Confederacy fighters, their natural agility augmented by advanced technology. As the battle entered its second day, it became clear that despite their valiant efforts, Earth's defenders were being slowly but surely pushed back. The Confederacy's numbers were simply too great, their weaponry too advanced. In the Earth Defense Force headquarters, General Rivera received a transmission that made his blood run cold. "Sir," the Cerberus unit reported, its voice uncharacteristically grave, "we're detecting a new biological agent being deployed by the enemy. It appears to be specifically targeted at our canine allies." Rivera's fists clenched. This was the moment he had feared since the war began. The enemy had found a way to sever the bond between human and canine, the very foundation of Earth's defense. But even as despair threatened to overwhelm him, a new voice crackled over the comm system. "This is Admiral Zixnara of the Galactic Confederacy. General Rivera, do you read me?" Rivera's eyes narrowed. "I read you, Admiral. Come to gloat over your victory." "No, General," Zixnara replied, her voice heavy with emotion. "I've come to help. What Vexilor is doing, it goes against everything the Confederacy once stood for. I cannot stand idly by and watch as he destroys not just your world, but the very principles that have guided our civilization for millennia." For a moment, Rivera was speechless. Then, gathering himself, he asked, "What are you proposing, Admiral?" "I'm transmitting the chemical structure of the bioweapon Vexilor has deployed," Zixnara said. "With this information, your scientists may be able to develop a countermeasure. Additionally, I'm prepared to turn the Inevitability's weapons against the invasion fleet. It won't be enough to turn the tide alone, but it might buy you the time you need." Rivera didn't hesitate. "Do it," he ordered. Then, turning to his staff, "Get this data to Dr. Yamamoto immediately. Tell her it's our highest priority." As Zixnara's ship opened fire on its own fleet, sowing confusion and chaos among the Confederacy forces, Earth's scientists worked feverishly to develop a counter to the bioweapon. In laboratories around the world, human and canine geneticists worked side by side, their minds linked through neural interfaces as they raced against time. On the battlefield, the situation grew increasingly desperate. In Moscow's Red Square, a team of Siberian huskies, their fur matted with blood and their cybernetic enhancements sparking from damage, fought on even as the bioweapon began to take its toll. Their human partners, unwilling to abandon their loyal companions, stood their ground against an overwhelming alien force. In the skies over London, the aerial Cerberus unit engaged in a desperate dogfight with Vexillo's flagship, its three heads working in perfect synchronization to outmaneuver the massive alien vessel. But for every Confederacy ship they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. Just when all seemed lost, a message crackled across the global communication network. "This is Dr. Eiko Yamamoto," a tired but triumphant voice announced. "We've done it. The countermeasure is ready for deployment." A collective cheer went up from human and canine alike. Within hours, specially modified Cerberus units were distributing the countermeasure across the globe, their vast neural networks allowing for precise, targeted delivery. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Canines that had been on the verge of succumbing to the bioweapons suddenly rallied, their enhanced bodies purging the alien toxin. The bond between human and dog, strained to its breaking point, reasserted itself stronger than ever. With renewed vigor, Earth's defenders launched a counteroffensive. In New York, a pack of enhanced German shepherds led a charge that broke through the Confederacy's lines, reclaiming block after block of the city. In orbit, human piloted fighters, guided by the unparalleled situational awareness of their canine copilots, began to turn the tide against the alien armada. High Commander Vexillo, watching from his flagship as his carefully laid plans crumbled, felt something he had never experienced before: fear. He had underestimated these humans and their animal allies not once, but twice. And now, it seemed, he would pay the ultimate price for his arrogance. As the battle reached its climax, General Rivera received one final transmission from Admiral Zixnara. "General," she said, her voice filled with a mix of admiration and regret, "what I've witnessed here today, it's beyond anything I could have imagined. The bond between your species and these remarkable animals, it's not just a military tactic, it's a fundamental truth about the nature of cooperation and mutual respect." Rivera nodded solemnly. "It's who we are, Admiral. It's who we've always been." "Then perhaps," Zixnara replied, "it's time the rest of the galaxy learned from your example. I'm ordering all Confederacy forces to stand down. This war is over." As the news spread across the battlefield, a stunned silence fell over both human and alien forces. Then gradually the silence gave way to cheers, barks, and howls of triumph. The Earth, against all odds, had prevailed. In the days that followed, as the dust of battle settled and the long process of rebuilding began, humanity and its canine allies found themselves standing on the threshold of a new era. The galaxy, once a place of terror and unknown threats, now lay open before them, not as a realm to be conquered, but as a vast frontier of discovery and cooperation. And as the first joint human-canine alien scientific expedition prepared to launch, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of three species, the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, welcoming Earth and its remarkable inhabitants to a new chapter in galactic history. The war was over, but the greatest adventure was just beginning: a new galactic order. 5 years had passed since the climactic battle that ended the Galactic Confederacy's invasion of Earth. The scars of war were still visible on the planet's surface, but they were gradually being erased by the combined efforts of humans, their canine allies, and, surprisingly, a growing number of alien species who had chosen to make Earth their home. The United Earth Council Chamber, a massive structure built from the remnants of alien and human technology, buzzed with activity. Representatives from every nation on Earth, alongside their canine partners, gathered for a historic session. Today, they would be welcoming delegates from across the galaxy, including former members of the Confederacy who had chosen to break away and forge a new path. General Marcus Rivera, now serving as Earth's chief diplomat, stood at the podium, his faithful companion Rex, a battle-scared but still vigilant German shepherd, by his side. As he surveyed the chamber, Rivera couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come. "Distinguished delegates," he began, his voice carrying easily through the advanced acoustics of the chamber, "today marks a new chapter not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. We gather here not as conquerors or the conquered, but as equals, united in our desire for peace, progress, and mutual understanding." As if on cue, the main doors slid open, revealing a diverse group of alien species. Leading them was a familiar face, or rather, a familiar set of compound eyes and clicking mandibles. Admiral Zixnara, now serving as the ambassador for a coalition of reformed Confederacy worlds, approached the podium. "General Rivera," she greeted, her translator conveying a mix of respect and warmth. "On behalf of the Galactic Coalition for Peace, I thank you for this opportunity. The lessons we have learned from Earth and its remarkable inhabitants have fundamentally changed our understanding of cooperation and symbiosis." As Zixnara took her place among the delegates, Rivera continued his address. "5 years ago, we faced extinction. Today, we stand at the forefront of a new galactic civilization. Our bond with our canine partners, once seen as a curiosity or a tactical advantage, has become a model for interspecies cooperation across the stars." He gestured to the various alien delegates, each accompanied by creatures that bore a striking resemblance to Earth's dogs, yet were clearly of extraterrestrial origin. "Already, we see the fruits of this new understanding. Species that once saw each other only as potential conquests or rivals are now exploring the possibilities of symbiotic relationships." In the years following the war, Earth had become a beacon of hope and innovation. The technology shared by Zixnara and other defectors from the Confederacy, combined with humanity's unique approach to human-animal cooperation, had led to breakthroughs in fields ranging from medicine to space exploration. Dr. Eiko Yamamoto, the brilliant scientist whose work had been crucial in countering the Confederacy's bioweapon, now headed the Interspecies Medical Research Institute. Her team, composed of human, canine, and alien researchers, had made remarkable strides in understanding and enhancing the genetic foundations of symbiotic relationships. "Our latest breakthrough," Yamamoto announced to the assembled delegates, her eyes shining with excitement, "is a gene therapy that can enhance cognitive bonds between sentient species. Preliminary trials suggest it could revolutionize everything from space exploration to environmental restoration on damaged worlds." As she spoke, holographic displays lit up around the chamber, showing the potential applications of this new technology. On one screen, a human canine team was seen piloting a sleek spacecraft through an asteroid field, their movements perfectly synchronized. On another, an alien being resembling a sentient plant was shown communing with devastated forest ecosystems, guiding their regeneration. The implications were staggering. Planets that had been deemed uninhabitable could potentially be restored. Deep space exploration, once limited by the psychological toll of long-term isolation, could be made more feasible through enhanced interspecies crews. But perhaps the most profound change was in the realm of diplomacy and mutual understanding. The enhanced bonds made possible by this technology allowed for a level of empathy and communication that transcended traditional language barriers. Ambassador Krelix, a representative from a crystalline species that had once been among the Confederacy's most implacable foes, rose to speak. His crystalline form shimmered as he interfaced with a creature that looked like a cross between a dog and a living geode. "What we have witnessed here on Earth," Krelix's melodious voice resonated through the chamber, "is nothing short of a revolution in galactic relations. For eons, my people believed that true understanding between diverse species was impossible. We saw the galaxy as a place of inevitable conflict, where only the strong survived. Earth has shown us a different path." As Krelix spoke, his crystalline companion emitted pulses of light that seemed to harmonize with his words, adding depth and emotion to his statement in a way that left many in the chamber misty-eyed. The session continued, with delegate after delegate sharing stories of how the Earth model, as it had come to be known, had transformed their societies. Species that had been on the brink of war now explored the stars together. Ecosystems that had been ravaged by centuries of exploitation were being reborn through the efforts of interspecies conservation teams. But it wasn't all soaring rhetoric and lofty ideals. The path to this new galactic order had been fraught with challenges. Cultural misunderstandings, lingering mistrust from the war, and the sheer logistics of integrating such diverse species had all posed significant hurdles. Rivera addressed these challenges head-on. "We have not achieved utopia," he admitted, with Rex offering a supportive nudge against his leg. "There have been setbacks, conflicts, and moments of doubt, but each challenge has only strengthened our resolve and deepened our understanding of one another." He went on to outline some of the ongoing initiatives aimed at fostering greater cooperation and understanding. The Galactic Exchange Program, which allowed beings from across the galaxy to live and work on Earth or other member worlds, had been particularly successful. It had led to a cross-pollination of ideas and cultures that was transforming art, science, and philosophy across known space. As the session neared its conclusion, a hush fell over the chamber. It was time for the main event, the ratification of the Galactic Charter of Rights and Responsibilities. This document, years in the making, would establish a framework for cooperation and mutual protection among all signatory species. Rivera and Zixnara approached the central platform together, symbolizing the union of Earth and the reformed Confederacy worlds. As they prepared to sign, a series of holographic displays activated, showing similar scenes playing out on planets across the galaxy. It was to be a simultaneous, multi-world ratification, a first in galactic history. With these signatures, Rivera intoned, his voice thick with emotion, "We commit ourselves not just to peace, but to a shared future. A future where the strengths of each species complement the others, where diversity is celebrated rather than feared, and where the bonds between sentient beings, be they human and dog, or forms of life we have yet to encounter, are recognized as the true strength of our galactic civilization." As Rivera put pen to paper, a ceremonial gesture, as the real ratification was happening digitally, Rex placed his paw print next to the signature. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out, beings of all shapes and sizes, some so alien as to defy easy description, formalizing their commitment to this new galactic order. The moment the final signature was registered, a cheer went up that seemed to shake the very stars. In orbit above Earth, a massive fleet of ships, representing every signatory species, lit up in a dazzling display of lights and colors. It was a celebration on a truly cosmic scale. As the festivities began in earnest, Rivera found a quiet moment to stand with Rex on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt skyline of New York. The city was a testament to the new order. Human architecture blended seamlessly with alien designs, creating a skyline unlike anything that had existed before the war. "We did it, old friend," Rivera murmured, scratching Rex behind the ears. The old dog woofed softly in agreement, his cybernetic implants glowing softly in the twilight. Zixnara joined them, her alien features somehow managing to convey a sense of contentment. "It is a remarkable view," she observed, "a fitting symbol for what we have achieved together." Rivera nodded. "It's more than I ever dared hope for when this all began. But our work is far from over." "Indeed," Zixnara agreed. "There are still parts of the galaxy that resist this new order. And beyond our galaxy, who knows what awaits us?" As if in answer to her question, a junior aide rushed onto the balcony, his face flushed with excitement. "General Rivera, Ambassador Zixnara, we've just received a transmission from Andromeda." Rivera and Zixnara exchanged looks of astonishment. First contact with another galaxy, it was unprecedented. As they rushed back inside to learn more, Rivera couldn't help but smile. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that they would face them not as separate species, but as a united galactic community. The bond between humans and dogs, which had seemed so simple and yet had proven so profound, had laid the foundation for a new understanding of cooperation and symbiosis that now spanned the stars. The war that had nearly destroyed Earth had instead given birth to a new era of exploration, understanding, and unity. As the first transmissions from Andromeda began to filter in, Rivera felt a sense of limitless possibility. The greatest adventure in the history of all species was just beginning. And at his side, as always, was Rex, a reminder of the unbreakable bond that had changed the course of galactic history. Together, they stepped forward into a future bright with promise, ready to forge new bonds across the cosmic tapestry of life. The stars, once a battlefield, now beckoned as a realm of infinite discovery and cooperation. Humanity, its loyal canine companions, and their new alien allies were ready to answer that call, together.